Hey, it's Drybear. The day has come. Ultimate Blair has landed in the First Descendant. The patch is live with some new content to dive into, so let's cover what went in. The first thing to talk about is the new events in game, and you don't want to miss these. You're going to get a whole bunch of really cool stuff with this. The first one is Ingris, Guardian, Blair. This is already in the game right now. It's very fast. The missions are super easy. Total playtime 30 minutes, complete one mission, and then playtime 60 minutes. It gives you a good amount of shape stabilizers, a bunch of gold, materials for crafting up your catalyst, as well as some boosts as well, which is super nice. So just make sure you're doing this. This one lasts for 7 days total, including today. Then we have the weekly fire support, which you will get some cool things like a new sieve, which is pretty awesome, and some other elements here, as well as getting like catalyst materials and things like that, which is all really cool. There's also a Descendant slot after completing 3 research in the next week or so. So just make sure free Descendant slots are always nice. So just make sure you're picking this up, get your research done, and get these done as well. They still have the login bonuses. So if you haven't picked up your Haley skins, or if you really want to get the Ultimate Bunny, though I'd recommend just going for the skins, since you know you can't farm skins, but you can farm Ultimate Bunny on your own. And they have Blair ready for deployment as well. There's some big gains in here. The Abyss metal fragments are always nice, especially for new players, and most importantly, the Photon Imprinter, which we don't get very many of, so you definitely don't want to miss out on these as well. Additionally, Ultimate Blair has joined the game. He looks awesome in client. He's got a good vibe to him. Of course, he comes with not only the ultimate form, which will give you additional stats over the normal Blair, but he also has 2 of his Transcendent mods in the game right now, which gives him 2 new playstyles to play with as well. It's the first day. People are still farming him. You'll get his materials from the Sigma sector, or the Sigma sector, if we're not memeing. So you'll be able to pick those up and farm him out. He's not too bad, and you also get your arcade tuning from the Sigma sector as well. So if you want to do farm Sigma sector for the arcade tuning on your other characters that aren't maxed out, and then you can also do that to farm the Blair materials at the same time, which is pretty sweet. And there is a new story for Blair and Ultimate Blair as well. If you don't have Ultimate Blair, you can just switch to Blair, and then inside of Albion, you'll get the new quest, just like all the other quests before. So you have this new quest line to run through, a new story for Blair, and they said they're pretty proud of this one, so hopefully it turns out pretty great once we're able to jump in, but I'm not going to spoil it here. They also added in a bunch of new modules. They added in, I believe, like 40 of them, or just about, maybe 35 new modules, a whole bunch of them. I usually have this completely cleared out, but these are all new ones being added to the game. So you have a bunch of purples to pick up, a couple yellows as well, and of course the 2 Transcendent modules for Blair that you'll want to pick up, the Next Level Recipe and Killer Recipe. We went over this when they did the dev showcase, but Killer Recipe is an option that allows you to hitting an enemy with burn increases your crit rate, crit damage, and skill power to deal damage, which is a nice addition as well. So it gets the additional effect when attacking enemies. That's what they mean by additional effect. They changed to fire a meatball without generating a flame zone, and it does change Chef's Touch when attacking or defeating enemies with burn, and deal damage by targeting the enemy, which does have a heat-seeking effect, pun intended there, so you'll be able to chase that down, which gives you a nice option there. The other option is Next Level Recipe, and this is changed to create flame zones after moving. This is the one that when you run around, it creates flame patches behind you. It's not quite as extensive as, say, the toxic trails that we have with Freyna, and it's not quite as like speed boosty as like VS's, but it does give you a good amount of AoE and an easier way to spread your flame zones without this Transcendent mod equipped. Next, they split up the Void Erosion Purge into a setting that is for farming the materials you need to do the core binders on your weapon and unlock your weapons that way. And they also did it so that you could do the Void Erosion Challenge version. So one is difficult and one is more for farming. So now you have a normal and a challenge version. They're not even calling it hard, they're calling it challenge, and it is pretty tough. So for normal, what you'll have to do, especially if you're a new player, is you'll have to come through and you'll have to go one by one and unlock all of these Void Erosion Purge levels. In order to access the Void Erosion Challenge setting, you'll have to fully complete the normal, which means going all the way up to Void Erosion Purge 30 and then complete that. And you'll also have to complete it again on the new patch. So I logged in this morning. I already done Void Erosion 30, but challenge was still locked. So you have to do 30 at least once on the new patch in order to unlock the challenge mode. So once you do that normally, you'll unlock that, and that will open up the Void Erosion Purge challenge setting. This currently has 5 levels. It's got a cool little orange setup to it as well. And then you can go to the leaderboard. Some people have already started clearing this. on some characters, like Viesa, there's one ultimate bunny. Galay's gonna have a lot of them, obviously, and then if we go to the big girl, Serena, she's gonna have a bunch of clears here as well. This one is starting at a very difficult level, and you can go all the way up here to level 5, where you can see the difficulty just keeps going higher and higher, but the rewards go higher and higher as well. You can see you get basically pure 10 core drops at this, 10 of each, and you also get a 400 core amplifier drop on the 5th level. Even the first level is pretty similar to the previous, but just you get more of the 10 cores, which is pretty efficient. So even if you can farm 1 or 2 on the challenge level, it probably is still going to be more efficient, though I think what they're trying to say is that the Void Erosion Purge 30 is meant for people to just do normal clears. You can see this drops 6. It is a noticeable increase in difficulty as well. And what I've noticed, at least from the first level of the challenge mode, is that the hallways are a little bit tighter and there's a lot more like closed spaces. So I think what they're trying to do is just encourage you to kind of really face down the enemies. Even just doing a basic like Last Dagger Galay build, I was struggling to keep up with the timer just for clear time on AoEs. Again, I would feel like if you're running Serena, you can probably, like if you have a fully built out Serena with at least somewhat decent cores on your weapon and you have a full build, you can probably pretty easily get to maybe 1 or 2 or 3, but then it's going to depend on either how optimized your build is, components across the board, and also just how much you're pushing for time, as a lot of these mobs do have a metric boatload of HP. It doesn't seem to be as like dangerous or spammy as the default, and they also made the wave size a little bit smaller, which means it's more about testing your build than it is about, you know, hiding behind walls and saving yourself, though it does seem like they still do a lot of crazy damage. You want to be careful about that as well. A couple bookkeeping things to note about this as well. I haven't like tested this myself just yet, but they do mention that potentially the 10 cores that you get from the challenge version are 1 time each. So if you're looking to farm this, maybe that's not even farmable. Maybe it's literally just a one-time reward and then you don't do challenge ever again, based on the description they have here. And it is private operation only. You cannot go into the challenge mode in a group. It is solo only. You got to jump in here with your build and your character and put in the work to get the job done. Additionally, they added a bunch of new external components. We went over this after the dev interview or the dev show that they had. Firebrand is more about fire damage, skill effect range, and fire skill attack. Plague gives you an option for tech skill power, single skill power, as well as toxic skill power, and a nice bonus for Keelan. And I'm actually seeing a lot of people playing Keelan and doing some pretty crazy things with it after his buffs as well. Enlightened Mage is great for skill power and non-attribute. Moving Fortress is very defensive. It doesn't, not only does it have percent increase to defense, but it also has reduces incoming damage, which is really cool. And then we have Shell Crusher, which is fire rate, and then a counter to Void Shields and Arcane Shields, which gives you a little bit more variety in your build without needing to specifically run Voltia, for example. The Firebrand, Plague, Enlightened Mage, and Shell Crusher can be obtained from Sigma Sector, which means 4 out of the 5 new external component sets come from Sigma Sector. Again, you can farm Ultimate Blair stuff from there as well, so doing a bunch of Sigma Sector on this patch is going to benefit you quite a lot, so you'll be able to get all those loots done. And then the Moving Fortress can be obtained from Abyss Intercept Battles. So if you're looking for that last piece, that's the tanky one, which is probably only going to fit very niche builds, but the others that come from the Sigma Sector, so I'm gauging a lot of people are going to be running Sigma Sector this patch. Next, they added in their stat enhancement. They're calling it option enhancement. I actually didn't think this was going to go into this patch. I thought it was going to be delayed or pushed forward, but it's actually in the game right now. So the way this works is you can actually go to your reactors or your external components and upgrade the stats on them to make them better. So it's the same place you would normally go to in Albion. We come here and we go to the workbench and we still have our reactor enhancement. This is for like increasing the skill power on the reactors. But then if you scroll down on the list, we now have option enhancement for external components and for reactors. So if you click on these, you can see that, you know, I have pretty much, I only keep double golds on everything, but I do have some down here, like this is double blue and this is like purple blue. You can see once you've actually reached it, like I have some reactors that are max stats, like this one's even close to being double max on this as well. So you can actually see when the stat is fully maxed out. And the way this works, if you've played any Korean MMO, this is like basically par for the course exactly how Korean MMOs do enhancement systems. You will spend a resource amount and you will either get a set distance that goes on this bar, or you have a chance to get a critical success, which will double the amount you get for the rewards that you're, or for the materials that you spent. This price that you spend to upgrade the option enhancement goes up with every time you enhance it, up to 5, where the price maxes. So while we have this is a toxic cooldown for this, we can just see if we can actually get maximum here. Boom, and you can see it actually disappeared from the list because we actually hit max on that. So you actually have a bunch of these that are pretty close. And the one thing that I want to confirm is if you can go from, say, like blue to purple and purple to blue, or if it locks out. So I'm going to take this one here. This is my ascending memory. It's a purple gold, but let's see if we can actually upgrade it. I just want to confirm this for myself so I know that it does do this. So we can do option enhancement. We can see that no critical success, but you can see that it went from purple to gold. So you again confirmed you can take a external component or a reactor that is double blue, and if you wanted to, if you were crazy enough, you could actually enhance it from double blue to double gold all the way up to maximum. So if you have this on the maximum stat, this makes this infinitely easier to get stats on the components and the reactors. For example, I have like best in slot for a full Slayer set for the stats that I'm looking for on these, to be honest, and it took me about 750 or 800 of the like Pyromaniac, whatever boss drops it, to get the perfect re-rolled Slayer set. 800 runs on a single boss is bonkers. And the same thing goes for reactors as well. Generally takes, I would say, like a full day, like maybe 8 to 12 hours when I need to get a new good reactor for somebody. So having this as an option is excellent because it means that if you get the right 2 stats, you can just level them up if you wanted to. Now it does get more and more expensive the more you use this option, but they said it does cap at 5 increases to the price, and then it stays at that fixed 5x price for that as well. So this gives you an excellent option. It simplifies and it streamlines one of the worst farms in the entire game, which is going to be obviously getting these reactors maxed out. And if you, so we just got a critical there, that was pretty cool. So boom, that's there, and then we can boom, and then of course it goes off the list, which is really nice. So some of these electric ones that I use for some of my characters, we can just boost out. Super cool system. Next up, they added in the new medal system, which is a system for, you know, basically doing prestige activities, completing things. You'll be able to unlock these medals. If you get duplicates of the medal, you will actually end up getting higher tiers of it, which will change the view of it. And then you can set the medal to appear next to your name in game, which is really cool. So if you're wondering how this system works, all you have to do is open your inventory. You go up here to your title selection. So click your title, your like no equip title, and you'll notice there is a title tab and a medal tab. Come here to the medal tab to track your medals. This is going to be like for equipping them. To get them, however, you need to go to the journal here and go to awards and then go over to medal. And a lot of these are pretty intense. I thought I had 30 weapons, but this is so basically max out the 4 out of 4 bonus, or 5 total of 30 different ultimate weapons. I'm actually just about to hit 30 here, so I should get this in the next day or so. Then we have like complete 430 achievements, own 28 Descendants, which isn't even possible right now, acquire a record, own an enhancement level 10 module, 400 of these. I have 185, I guess. Unlock 30 weapon cores. Have 19 maxed out arcade tuning pages for 19 different Descendant groups. Do Void Erosion Purge normal stage 30 1,000 times. Like, some of these are pretty intense, but this is just a new prestige cosmetic system that they added to the game. So you'll check it here in journal and you can equip it in your inventory. Now, I'm not going to go through this in this video, but there are new beginner quests. So if you log in, there's going to be one you'll notice here that teaches you how to put together Ultimate Bunny, which I think is great for. You'll find some of them there. And if you're a new player, you'll find a lot more guides built into the game to help just new players get into the game as well. But if you're a veteran player, you may notice just the single quest you have from Descendant Instructor, and the rest of them will auto be completed, which is kind of nice. Now, they did add in a whole bunch of new modules. Most of them are purple quality for the different types of ammos that you're going to get. We already talked about the Blair Transcendent mods. There obviously is going to be like anti-void or RK shield builds that you can use here with this. There's more like weak point multi-hit bonuses through that as well. There's some trigger here. There's just a whole bunch of new options for being able to play around with these depending on what build you're trying to go for. Some of these are just in the multi-hit stage, and I think they're just trying to add more options here. However, they did add new new options for ATK as well. Unless you're doing a pure multi-hit build, you probably won't use these, but having an option for ATK that affects multi-hit damage is nice, and they're just trying to make more multi-hit builds viable for the most part. Now, if you logged in right after the new patch, that would have been it for the day. However, they immediately, like 3-4 hours after the patch went live, very early morning this morning, they did a follow-up hotfix. And in this one, there's some spicy things in it as well, specifically around the balance overall. So the big one that they, let's just go through it. So we have the content improvements. Champion monsters no longer use skill interruption or MP leech. I think this just helps in a lot of cases where you can get stunned or all your MP can get drained. I think they're just more worried about onboarding and new players right now. So they're trying to make sure that the stuff that prevents people from getting further into the game, they get rid of, and then they add more hardcore end game content like the new Void Erosion challenge to get people going, which I think is the right approach. They also made a whole bunch of improvements to some of the zones. Kingston got a bunch of changes for the routes and layouts. They improved Vespers as well. Unfortunately, they did not touch White Knight Gulch, which is probably the biggest, most egregious factor for that, but they are probably looking at that to be seen as well. Void fragments and void fusion reactors have been reworked so that void fusion reactors no longer require void shards. So void shards are just a thing of the past. You don't have to farm them anymore. You can just keep opening things. I guess they just didn't like that as part of the gameplay loop of getting the void shards in general. So they cannot be required anymore, and the guide message for void fragments has been removed. They've also done some invasion hidden mechanics from the evasion main story mission, so it's a little bit easier to get through, and you get to that point there. They also did the changes that they talked about over the dev stream, which I think are excellent changes. Another reason why I think people are going to be doing a lot of Sigma Sector stuff this patch. Sigma Sector, they increased the firearm EXP and Descendant EXP from the high-risk versions of Sigma Sector from 30,000, which is about what like a special op would be at the very final bonus, to 160,000. This is a bonkers amount of firearm XP and Descendant XP. So I think running Sigma Sector over and over for the energy control core, so you can do the option enhancement on your external components, plus getting drops for if you're missing any of the weapons like the ATAMs or the Ancient Knight. Additionally, getting the Blair materials or the new components. Sigma Sector is going to be the big this time around. They've also increased the drop rate of modules from elite monsters in Sigma Sector by about 40%, which is pretty cool. And unique RK Factor EXP can now be earned in hard special operations, though I still think unless you're trying to get like the shape stabilizers, I feel like you're still going to want to run Sigma Sector just because it overall is just an excellent source for RK tuning, and now is an excellent source for all EXP for leveling as well. Additionally, with the add of the challenge version of Void Erosion Purge, they did some nerfs to the core stages of 21 to 30 on the normal version of the Void Erosion Purge. So to address the overly repetitive combat patterns caused by decreasing skill usage, they will be, or they already have, it's in the game now, skill damage for advantage attribute Descendants has been significantly increased, 21 to 30. Skill damage for inferior has been partially increased for 21 to 30, as well as firearm damage for advantage attributes has been slightly increased for 20 to 30. So the 20 to 30 range is getting easier for skill damage and for the firearm damage bonus as well, just making them easier overall. They also added in support drones to normal and challenge difficulties. If you needed a pause break or you needed to refill, you can use the support drones as part of that as well. They've also made it so the support requests give you additional awards just to be able to do the hard there as well. They have they give the acquire high value relics. They just the number of awards that are hard to achieve from 100 to 1, 250. So all these awards are just easier to achieve when you're doing the normal version, or even just the hard challenge version, but probably just the normal version of VEP if that's what you're after. For Descendants, they lowered the difficulty of attaining blueprints and codes for Ultimate Bunny. They are doubling down on Ultimate Bunny being the new player character, and for good reason. reason. They removed or stopped dropping the old Ultimate Bunny amorphous materials, and they've added in new variants of them that have generally higher drop rates for Ultimate Bunny's Enhanced Cell, Stabilizer, and Spiral Catalyst, as well as Code, just to make her overall easier to farm. The previous amorphous materials that would normally drop Ultimate Bunny, you can still have them in your inventory. They will just have a lower drop rate for those pieces, and now they're just making, not only are they giving out another free Ultimate Bunny if you want one, but now they're just making it so it's easier to farm her in general. Additionally, with Serena, when a skin without wings is equipped, the wings now only be visible while using a skill, and they will auto hide. So if you're using a skin, like if you're using any of the sexy outfits or like modern fashion outfits for Serena, the wings won't be there, and then they'll appear if it makes sense for the skill to use them, like you're floating or something like that, and then they will auto disappear as well. And the skins without wings currently is the Corn outfit, and then the Secretary outfit, the administrative support, which is going to be the ones added to the game as well. Next, unique ability enhancement or core unlocking performed once on a weapon will now apply to all identical weapons. So if you have multiple copies of the same weapon, you don't have to keep unlocking all the duplicates. They did the same thing for the 4 out of 4 for the unique ability as well. And this persists through dismantling and everything else in between. So if you dismantle or sell a weapon with unique ability enhancement and/or unlocked cores and acquire the same weapon again through crafting or any other means, it will have the same unique ability enhancement or unlocked cores. So this is a global stat application to that weapon specifically. Once it's done, even if you get duplicates of the same thing. But they do stress that this doesn't apply to weapons that were dismantled prior to the patch. They're not going to do this retroactively. This is only after the patch. If you decide to dismantle or you lose a weapon that has that upgrade, it will keep it because they'll be able to store it for the patch. But if you, for whatever reason, dismantled a weapon prior, then that weapon, it will, you're not going to be able to get it back through that. They also claim that if you had 2 or more of the same firearms with unlocked cores at the same time of the patch, you'll receive core binders in refund in the mail because that system is gone in. Another huge win. This is super generous of them to even do this at all, which is pretty cool, but at least you'll get some kind of recovery for if you're crazy enough to have multiple duplicates of the same weapon and then you core bound or you did the ultimate 4 out of 4 again on the weapon, you crazy person, you'll at least get the core binders back for that specifically. They also seem to be going through and doing some bookkeeping, at least on the translated version of the game. So some of these modules that had like Commando Marksmanship or Reload Expert, if they were part of the high power rounds or the purple rounds set, they said firearm attack, even though they really were doing firearm explosive attack. So now a lot of those texts have been updated to be clear on the fact that obviously if you have a module that only goes on launchers, it's not going to increase your firearm attack because no launcher has firearm attack. Essentially, it is explosive attack. So they're just making it a little bit clearer. Personally, I hope they keep doing this and also just make the text on the, most specifically the Transcendent modules, much better, because they have some of the worst descriptions on modules I have seen in any game ever. In general, like I feel like if you read the text on a Transcendent red mod, most of the time you have no idea what you just read and you have to go into the training room and test it just to see what it does, or even just equip it and see which abilities got affected by it, because their descriptions for the red mods are absolutely abhorrent. Hopefully they go through and start making those better and clearer. They could even just put in brackets like they do with everything else. Like they have these exclusive categories where it says this is ATK category. They could also just go to the red mod and say, hey, this affects your third ability with this name and it does this to it specifically, which would be nice. Obviously, some of the red mods do quite a lot and the text would get quite long, but I feel like at least some effort into making the red mods more readable and legible would go into their crusade to help new players understand the game better. Next, they added some new features to the photo mode. So they added a play stop feature, which allows you to play around with just what's going on around you. So if you wanted to have a like pose, you can have them pause the pose in real time. So you can actually see that like she starts waving and then you can pause it, right? You can even do like decline pause if you wanted to do like a pause of the animation at a specific point. Probably not that face because that's a little bit ridiculous, but at least that is there as well. You can also play with the play speed of the animation, so you can see it slows them down so it's easier to pause at the right time if you'd like. They also added in a filter option and some post-processing. So if you wanted to like do different filters on this to get the right colors or the right setup, holy moly, that just changed Did that just change blue to silver? What in the world? What a filter. Could even do black and white if you wanted to. Get that kind of in there. So they added some cool new features to this, which is there. They added the slow move function to the camera as well if you wanted to slow move around. Track move, free move, track move. There's different options there. They also changed the reset button's input to hold so you don't accidentally hit it and ruin whatever setup you were doing with that as well. And they had the hide UI button, which just also hides the cursor. So if you got like, you know, if you got the setup that you wanted, I don't know, whatever. Here, sit. Is she gonna sit down? Sit down. Sit on the ground. Right? So if you're looking for that as well and you want to do a hide UI, it will hide your cursor as well and lock the camera. So if that's what you're looking for, I don't, she's vibrating. If that's what you're looking for, those options are there, which is pretty cool. So just more options being added to the filter and to the photo mode, which I think is what people have been looking for. So even just messing around with this, you can actually get some pretty cool setups based on what you're looking for. I've just been trying to find like some cool thumbnail setups and different animations you can play around with, which is pretty cool. What the frick, bunny? What are you doing? Oh my God, what a cursed look. But yeah, photo mode improvements is pretty nice. Additionally, they have added more DPS calculations to the training mode, which is awesome. So you can go to the training facility, you can load in whatever you want, you can get Big Turtle if you want, and then you can start testing out some different damage options. And you'll see that not only does it have damage and DPS, but it also has, you know, skill damage versus firearm damage versus max DPS, which is the highest you reach with the right damage burst or whatever, as well as your average DPS as time goes on. So all this is super nice for testing new builds and getting things to work the way you're looking for. All this kind of comes together really cool. So more additions. Imagine if we had this on launch, it would be super nice, but I'm glad that it's in the game now. They also changed it so evolving skins save the paint information at each individual evolution stage. So if you know the new evolving Sharon skin or any of the previous ones, if you wanted to have a different look for each of them, it now saves them separately, which is really cool. And if you're just logging in for the patch, stage 2 and 3 will be reset, and then stage 1 will have whatever paint information you had on there, if there is any. So you'll have to redo 2 and 3 if you'd like. Hopefully this doesn't cost anybody. I almost wish they just applied if there is any, they should just apply it to all 3, so you don't have to consume more paint if that's what you're looking for, but at least you have this option now for customization. They also cleaned up the hunting dog to get, you know, the Christmas skins that can be attached to that as well. Also, for the purpose of optimization, they reduced some of the monster effects on some of the enemies. Elite Tracker is going to be a big one. These are the ones are pretty decent as well, but I feel like there's a large list of enemies they probably need to go back and look at the effects on, especially if we're going to have some of the runaway builds like with Ines and Freyna specifically, where a lot of those things can proc off themselves and do crazy runaway stuff that causes a lot of server backup, but also some client lag and performance issues as well. So having those updated is going to be great. They also added in a web guide button for the new players, kind of like fitting with their goal of trying to make the onboarding experience, the NPE, way better. This is something that every game needs to stay on top of because NPE is so important when people are learning the game for the first time and trying things out. Next, for bug fixes, they fixed an issue apparently where Inez's chain lightning and floating lightning skills cannot hit certain objects, which means they just wouldn't bounce them, which obviously would limit their spread potential if they didn't get a crucial hop between 2 locations, and also would prevent you from using it to deal damage. Honestly, overall, Ines feels better after the bug fixes, which I know a lot of people were outraged over the change of Ines. I wish they didn't do the line of sight change and they just nerfed the efficacy of it, but I guess this is what they're looking for on that front. So the certain instances where those 2 skills wouldn't bounce or hit targets has been fixed. They also fixed an issue where some of Inez's hit effects are applied with an excessively slow speed, where a target whose speed has been undermined. They also fixed an issue where chain lightning and floating lightning would disappear when the next target was behind terrain. And this one might explain some of the issues. Like, obviously, the change of forcing line of sight did feel pretty bad at first, but if there were plenty of issues where the bounces weren't targeting targets that probably should be targeted, or it would cause their bounce to disappear when the next target was behind terrain, then hopefully that fix makes it feel better. And again, I ran some Sigmas today with my Ines, and it did feel better, closer to the old version of Ines, which I think is kind of a nice change for people. And now, after the initial hit, if the target is obscured by terrain, the lightning will return to Ines instead of disappearing. So they fixed an issue where the bouncing would not bounce to certain targets, it just wouldn't target them at all. They fixed an issue where the projectile would disappear mid-flight if it couldn't hit the target it was looking for, and they fixed an issue where if it can't find a valid target, regardless of terrain, it'll just naturally return to Ines as well, so you're not missing bounces. And I think these 3 changes should help the forced line of sight feel significantly better, but let me know if you're an Ines player, play her after the patch and let me know what you think. And that's it for the patch. Photo mode, Ultimate Blair, a ton of new mods, some new skins and things to look at. They added in the Ultimate Blair skin bundle, which comes with the Devil Hot Pepper skin, which is this one right here. I actually wish that if you guys know the Glay skin, the devil one that has a tail, this one seems to at least have some physics and gravity to it. The Glay one is like super stiff. It's like just a stick. I kind of wish they would go back to the Glay one and change it so it moves like this. Like this actually has a little bit of life to it and some gravity and physics, which I think is awesome. Maybe this comes with their jiggle physics update, but I kind of wish they would do that one as well. So if you're looking for these are in the shop and they are discounted as well. And yes, the Dandy Corn skin is here as well. So if you wanted to try it on different characters, I actually kind of old man Ajax inside of the corn outfit. He just looks so happy to be here. He's like doing it for his granddaughter just to make her happy. So you've got that. You've got a name card that comes along with it as well if you wanted to do the pack too. And it does have the Confusion Tactics emote bundle, which is pretty cool. This one I think could be pretty fun, especially with photo mode, depending on what you wanted to play around with. But this one is in the shop. Then, as they have been doing for a while, they split up the extra items that come along with the new pack. So you can get the Hot Wing attachment, which is part of the Ultimate Blair skin if you like, separately for a separate price. They also added in 2 new emotes, the Confusion Tactics, which does come with the corn setup if that's what you're looking for, so a new emote there. And they also added in the bouncing ball, so you can get on an exercise ball and you could just, man, yep, this is something you can do. This is available for you if for core strength development. They also added, I mean, they have the effects from like the secretary skins of like those there, but they also added an explosive taste, which is a new intro for Ultimate Blair. So he opens up a like food container and inside of it is stacks of dynamite, which is pretty interesting. And then I actually really do like the fire effect of them landing. I kind of wish there was more VFX or particle systems on the outro. So like when they're teleporting out, it's almost like they just kind of blink out of existence, which I wish had more effects on it. But I do like the fire, like the ring of fire that comes out on the return for the Ultimate Blair spawn. So overall, I think it's kind of a cool addition and should fit. Really, any fire character would look great with this one. Then for a measly 50 caliber, you can get the new makeup for Blair. So we have all the wonderful, beautiful ladies of TFD, and they're looking at their complexion and their contour and all the different elements and what colors they use and how it matches their skin tone. And then we got a brand new makeup item for Blair. He put a lot of effort into this one to really just kind of, you know, he got the right foundation, you know, try to match it. It matches his eyes, it matches his beard, but now he's got this new smoked makeup. Additionally, they also added in a new hair item for Blair as well, which looks like he just like got like it. He left the gas on the stove on but didn't ignite it, and he got his face real close to the stove and it finally ignited, so it blew his hair out. So if you wanted to, you can actually put both together to get this really cool unique look on Ultimate Blair, which just, I don't know, it fits his personality so well. It kind of reminds me of like Goto from Solo Leveling's hair, but just kind of blown just all out there. So they definitely had fun with some of these. So that's the new patch, bunch of new content, hopefully some new things to farm, some improvements for some characters, and Ned's feeling a little bit better, which should be a good win for the community. Ultimate Blair, new mods, and some new farming options for you. Jump in the Sigma sector, pick up all the new items, farm your XP and arcade tuning, and everything will come together as we move towards Season 3. But let me know what you think about the patch overall down below. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.